This problem's quite simple. It's not much of a dance. This is 2079 watering plants. Okay, so you want to water end plants in your garden with a watering can. It's good. Always good to keep your garden nice and refreshed. The plants are arranged in a row and are labeled from 0 to n minus 1. Okay, so you have a row of plants, right? Left to right, where the ith plant is located at x equals I. Okay, there is a river at x equal -1 that you can refill your watering can at. All right, so you got your river, and then you got your plants. All right, each plant needs a specific amount of water. You will water the plants in the following way. Okay, you water the plants in order from left to right. Okay, so if our position is this little carrot, we probably start over here. Okay. After watering the current plant, if you do not have enough water to completely water the next plant, return to the river and fully refill your watering can. Okay, so if I'm this little cursor, right, maybe I'm going, I water this plant, I water this plant, I water this plant. Oh, I don't have enough water to water this next plant, so I gotta go all the way back. Or if I'm here, I have to go all the way back to here, and then I have to come back, right? So I have to go all the way back and then come back. I don't know why it's erasing like that, but I think that makes sense to you. You cannot refill the watering can early. What does that mean? Well, in reality, the optimal way of doing this, right? Like, if I'm watering and I start noticing that I'm depleting, I might not want to go completely empty before refilling because I'm moving farther away, right? Every time I increase the plant that I'm going to, I'm kind of like adding more time that I'm gonna have to spend going all the way back, right? I'm distancing myself from this river. So it could be optimal, and I'd have to really think about is, even though I might have like 1 or 2 units left of water, I might as well go all the way back and refill before continuing because, the farther I go, the farther back I'm gonna have to go to refill my watering can. So that's why that point exists, right? You cannot refill the watering can early. What you have to do instead is you just keep watering until you reach a situation like, oh shoot, I don't have enough water to water the next plant, so I need to go back and refill the can. Okay, so you're initially at the river at x equals 1, so this is where you start. It takes 1 step to move 1 unit on the x-axis, right? So that's pretty intuitive, right? This takes 1 step, another step, 1 step, 1 step, 1 step, 1 step, 1 step, and then going back, that's another step, another whatever amount of steps. So, that makes sense, right? 1 step for 1 plant. Given an indexed 0 index integer array plants of n integers, where plant's I is the amount of water in the ith plant needs, and an integer capacity representing the watering can capacity, return the number of steps needed to water all the plants. Okay. So in this example, right, we have plants equals 2, 2, 2, 3. So I'm going to put it like this, where the river's right here, and then we have our plants, right? So we start here, and our capacity is 5. Okay, so we start here, we spend 1 to move this guy over, and we water that, and that brings our capacity to 3. We can water the next plant, so we spend 1 again to move over, and we water this, and now our capacity is 1, right? Because I spent 2 to water this from 5. I spent 2 to water this from 3 to get 1. Now at this point I realize, okay, I only have 1 left in my capacity, and I need to water something of size 3. So I need to go back. So I spend 1 going back here, another 1 going back here. So that's plus 2, plus 3, plus 4. So I spend plus 4 just to, I spend 1 to get here, I spend 1 to get here, and then I have to spend 4 to get back, right? Because I have to spend 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I had to spend another 1, so that refills my jug, and then this guy moves over. This is plus 1. Here's 3, so then I end up with 2. And then, it's the same game again. I have to go all the way back because I have 2 left and I need to water something with size 3. So I go plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5, plus 6. And then plus 1 is 7, right? And you'll notice here, well, the total here is 6, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. I got 15 and the answer is 14. What did I do wrong here? Okay, from here it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. From here I have to refill 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be plus 1. I don't know why I did plus 2 here, right? It should be plus 1 every step, right? Plus 1, plus 1. And then, these ones here are associated with refills. Okay, this is a refill, and this is a refill, right? These are all my steps, right? I had to step 1 to get here, step 1 to get here, step 1 to get here, and step 1 to get here. But at this point, right, when I got to this one, I had to refill. And when I got to this point, I had to refill. Terrible explanation, but I think you get the point. You can always just walk through this. It's the same exact thing. Okay. Now, this is where the constraints really become important. Okay, so the first thing is n is less than or equal to 1,000. So an n squared solution would actually work here. And another thing is that the max of plant's I is less than capacity. So as long as you have the full capacity of water, as long as you go back and get water and you're at full capacity within your watering can, you can always water all the plants, right? So it's not like you start watering a plant, you run out of water, and you're like, okay, this plant needs more water. And then you have to go back and then come back and water it again. And it's like, okay, like imagine your capacity was 5, but a plant needed 10 water, right? 10 units of water. Well, then you'd have to feed 5 into the plant. Now there's only 5 left that the plant needs, but you have 0 water, so you have to go back and then get another 5 units of water and water it again. No, that's not going to happen, right? Because with this constraint, if you have a full can of water, you can water any plant. All right, so you only have to go back once for each plant at most. So this is one problem where it's like, well, since n is so small, right, why don't we just simulate the problem? Let's just say we'll have something called steps, and that's the number of steps you have to do, right? And then we'll say like our current capacity equals the capacity. So that's what we start with, right? And our current position is -1, but let's just say, let's go through all the plants, right? So we'll say for each position, or we'll do index, I guess, or off. This is really an offset from the watering hole, right? So we're offset from the watering hole, and what was that? I don't know why I did that. For offset, and then the amount of water needed, I guess. Thirst, or what did they call it something here? So I can just copy. Needs. I don't know. Needs. Okay, this is terrible, but I'm not going to do it like that. I'm going to just say offset is the index, and the water it needs is W. Enumerate plants. All right, so this will give me the position of each of the plants and the amount of water it needs, right? Well, every time I step forward, it's going to cost me 1, right? Like when I step forward to this first plant, it's going to cost me 1. So every time I am in the loop and I step forward, it's going to cost me 1 step. So I'll add that to my steps. And of course, at the end, we're going to return steps, right? And then we're going to say, well, we'll assume the way that we'll set this up is we have enough water to water in our capacity to water the plant. So we'll say, okay, our current capacity is now minus equal the amount of water needed for this plant. Now, the way that this is stated, right, after watering the current plant, so we go from left to right. So this is a normal loop, right? Because a normal loop starts from the left and goes to the right of the array. And after we water the current plant, so after we water the current plant, that's this step here, if you do not have enough water, completely water the next plant, return to the river to fully refill the watering can. All right. So how do we know if, because I don't want to step forward, right? I don't want to increase the so maybe we won't do it this way. Maybe we'll step in here and we'll say, well, if the current capacity is less than the amount of water that the current plant needs, then we're going to have to go all the way back. So how far back do we go? Well, I'm going to just say it's 2 times index, and we'll make that make sense, right? So what I'm basically saying is, if I get to a current plant like here, right, and I only have 1 unit of water left, well, how far back would I have had to go in order to water this plant? Well, I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? You might be tempted to say the answer is 6, but you water, if you don't have enough water to completely water the next plant, so you're always looking forward, right? You're looking forward to the next plant before you make a decision to walk towards it, right? So really it's 2 times at the previous index. If I don't have enough water to water this current plant, that means at the previous index, I would have went back and watered the plant, right? So if I'm at index here at 0, 1, 2, I'd go, if I'm here and I don't have enough water, that means at this step, I would have went back -1, -2, +1, +2. So I would have gone the previous index all the way back +2, right? Because the previous index would be the length from the start, and then another +1 to go to the river, and another +1 to get back from the river, right? Because the river is here, right? The river's in this position. So if I'm here, I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So at this position is 0, 1, 2. Yeah, okay, terrible. So this is 2 minus 2 plus 2. These will go away, so you can just do that. And then you minus that amount of water from your thingamajig, and then you call it a day. Terrible solution today. I don't know what's going on with me, but it is what it is. All right. So, just very tired today, and I really don't know why. Weird feelings today. All right. And then we'll just submit that. So maybe we'll walk through why that's the... Man. Oh, because I never refilled the cup. So if I walk back, then my capacity is going to get refilled, right? Now I get the initial capacity again because I spent, right? If my capacity is less, that means I had to go back in order to refill the thing. So if I went back in order to refill the thing, then my capacity should be back to normal, right? All right. So let's walk through why this is +2 times index. So if I'm at this position, right, and I can't water it, I'm at position 0, 1, 2. Okay? And even though I can't water it here, the way that this is stated, I would have noticed that in the previous step. So that means here I wouldn't have watered it, right? So that would be the current index -1. And you're going to have to do that twice, right? Because that index is going to have to go all the way back to the beginning, 1 step, and then back again 2 steps. So it's 2 times whatever the distance you are from the watering plant, right? Whatever distance I am from the watering plant, I have to walk that distance to the watering plant and that same distance back, right? So it's 2 times that distance. That distance is index -1 because at the previous index, I would have received that information. But I also have to add in a +2 because my distance to the watering plant is my distance from all the other plants to the first plant +1 because the watering plant is at position, the river is at position -1. And that's just, simplify this math. This goes away. All right. Run time and space. Okay, so time and space complexity. Well, let's say n is the length of plants, right? Well, for time, well, all we have to do is we look at all the plants, and then we do constant operations. So for n plants, we do constant things, n times constant, that's n. So big O of n. For space, we just create 2 variables, and then we update them accordingly. Nothing too special about what we're doing here. So that's O of 1 space. All right, guys. Just apologize for the crappy solution today. I hope you have a good rest of your day.